How can I see if Windows 7 is using trim for my SSD drive? I recently upgraded the firmware on my SSD to support trim and upgraded to Windows 7. How can I tell whether Windows is recognizing the drive as SSD and using trim correctly?
According to the crucial user forums, is trim running? To test if trim is enabled, run the following in an administrative command window. If it comes up as 0, then it is enabled. Have a read of the comments of support in Q&A for solid-state drives and this Intel community forum for more info.
I'm still looking for an authoritative answer, but I noticed that on my machine, automatic defragging is scheduled for all of my HDDs, but not my SSD. I think this means Windows is recognizing the disk as an SSD. The click-by-click version of the answer. Right-click on a disk drive, go to Properties. Select the Tools tab and click on Defragment Now. Click on Configure Schedule. Click on Select Disks. The SSD should not show up in the list of disks if Windows recognizes it as an SSD.
I wrote a command line program to check if trim is enabled. Download and AMP source code. Trim check. This program provides an easy way to test whether trim works on your SSD. It uses a similar method to the one described here, but uses sector calculations to avoid searching the entire drive for the sought pattern. It also pads the sought data with 32 MB blocks of dummy data, to give some room to processes which may otherwise overwrite the tested detailed disk area. The program will set up a test by creating and deleting a file with unique contents, then, on the second run, checks if the data is still accessible at the file's previous location.
Until there are better answers, you can use indirect clues from the latest AnandTech article on SSDs, the SSD Improv, Intel and AMP, and Links Get Trim. Kingston brings Intel down to $115. Trim won't work on a RAID array. Other information previously here about non-MS drivers not supporting trim was out of date. For example, Intel added trim in March 2010 provided the drive is not in a RAID array. Intel RAID driver adds pass-through trim support.
Vielen Dank fürs Zuhören. Lass es euch wissen.